Good evening. My name is Thurman Greco, and the name of this show is Let's Live with Thurman Greco, and it is coming to you from scenic downtown Woodstock in Woodstock, New York, and also from the YouTube channel. And we have a very exciting show this afternoon because, for one thing, it's been ages since we did a Reiki show. And I'm hoping to have several so we can have kind of like a theme for a couple of 3 weeks. But we have 2 Reiki guests, and we are going to be enjoying a lot of Reiki this afternoon. And if you go through the Let's Live lineup, because this show is almost 20 years old, you will see a number of Reiki programs. And I have 2 guests today, so can we start off here with Maria Cecilia and ask you to introduce yourself to the camera.
My pleasure. Hello, I'm Maria Cecilia Deferrari, and among other things, I'm a Reiki Master and teacher. And I met Thurman, and she invited me on the show, so thanks for having me, Thurman.
It's my pleasure. And now, Kim, will you take a moment to introduce yourself to the camera?
Sure. My name is Kim Sykes. I am an artist, an intuitive, and a healer. I recently learned Reiki from Thurman here, and she invited me to come on the show. So I am grateful to be here. Thank you for the platform.
It's my pleasure. You know, you come to this show because you inherited this. Your mother has been a guest on this show several times, and before she was actually a speaking guest, she would come and do a Reiki session on someone for the camera. So that was where that came from. So you're still a Reiki student. We are always students. We never stop learning. You are now a Reiki 2?
Yes.
And your mother, where are you learning your Reiki?
From you and my mother.
From your mother.
Yeah.
I think that is the most beautiful thing.
It's so beautiful.
And she's very, very talented, my mother. She's got the gifts, and so it's really nice to be able to learn from her and to pass it on to my daughter as well.
Yeah. So, and also she's come to some classes, and Kim has a little child. How old is the baby?
She's 2.
She's 2. She runs around. But I will tell you this, that little child at 2 years old is not missing one thing. She is part of the tradition.
Yeah.
She doesn't even, but she does know how to do Reiki.
It's funny because a lot of the women in my family are intuitive and spiritually tuned in and tapped in. So I do feel that with her as well. But like my cousin, my aunt, my mom, myself, we're all a little witchy, and I can see it with my daughter as well. So.
It's coming through. Well, Cecilia, how did you find Reiki? How did Reiki find you?
Yeah, how did Reiki find me? So I've been involved in studying holistic health, since I was a teenager. And I was lucky that in terms of health, my mom also was pretty open to a certain point, and took me for acupuncture in 1988 in Mount Vernon, New York, like in this little back room in a synagogue where this acupuncturist was treating people. And it was so different from allopathic medicine, from Western medicine, but it was really powerful, and I could feel currents of like electricity going up my body. And that, so I think I was about 16, and that launched me into understanding that there were different ways of healing. And I'd always nature was always a place I'd gone to heal. Like if I was sad, I'd go to the trees. And I remember a story of disappearing into the snow, like in the backyard, and my parents were like, "Where is she?" You know, they had this tiny little fenced-in yard, and I was out there talking to the snow or whatever. So I ended up, so Reiki came to me about 10 years ago because SUNY Ulster Community College, I saw a listing for a psychic development class. Actually, my friend saw a listing, and she was like, "Oh, Cecilia, we should do it." And I thought, "Oh, that's not practical." You know, kind of, this is the story of my life now. I'm like, "Oh, it's not practical." And then I go in and my world is completely turned upside down. In college, it was the same thing. I studied, I ended up studying comparative religion and art history, and my friend was like, "Oh, it's a required course, and this teacher's amazing." And I was like, "Oh, you know, world mythology, like how can you make any money or a living from that?" And I'm so happy it was a required course because it changed the way of being and of thinking. So, I mean, so Reiki, so that was, I became, I received the attunements in, I think it was 2019, after having studied for like 2 or 3 years before that, and just kept on taking classes over and over again, and deepening the practice, and then started working with people. I had shall I go on, Thurman?
Well,
I've jumped right in, so yeah.
Well, that is actually, you have brought up something that's very interesting, because you talked about, you use the word healing with Reiki right from the beginning in terms of health, becoming healthy and holistic health, and you referred to acupuncture. My introduction to Reiki is completely different. I was doing a lot of animal rescue back in the 90s, which is, you know, the dark ages. And I was over in Clinton, New York at a place called Spring Farm Cares, CARES. And I was learning animal communication because I was working with all of these animals. And I felt it was something that would be, like you, practical. So I showed up for this class, and there were 25 of us, and it was a class where we all, at the beginning, everybody had to say, "Well, my name is so-and-so," and blah, blah, blah. Every one of the other 24 people, whatever it was they did, and I can remember one was a famous New York model, but she was also a Reiki something or other. Everybody was a Reiki something or other but me. And I was horrified. All of this sea of people, all of these 24 people knew something that I didn't even know what it was or how you spelled it or anything. And so when I left after that weekend, I went back to Virginia and I started trying to find out what was it that all of these people had that I did not have. And for me, there was no mention of healing. I had no idea. I think it could have been an exercise. It could have been a foreign language. It could have been whatever it was. I didn't know what it was. So it wasn't in terms of healing. Because at that time, I really, healing was kind of on the back burner. I had studied massage therapy years before, and in Virginia, forget that one. And so, you know, that didn't work. So, because you had to do it against the law. And so, it just wasn't a healing modality for me. I didn't know what it was, but it wasn't healing. Now, you talk about how in your family, the women were all, you said you're witchy.
Yeah.
So, how do the women in your family use Reiki?
Well, it's funny because no, you got me thinking about how I was first introduced. And I've always kind of been otherworldly and just like more inclined to try holistic remedies or tap into the universe. And I was first introduced to Reiki probably back in 2012. And I was going through like depression and eating disorder and stuff like that. And I was trying all these different healing modalities. And I think that, and I just tried everything. And I remember feeling the energy so strongly. And I started to do Reiki back then at that point, and then I kind of stopped. But I think that I've always been I'm very sensitive to energies, along with like a lot of my family, the women in my family. And once my mom started to do Reiki and she started to send it remotely, I started to notice when she was sending it, even though she would say after, like, oh, I just sent you Reiki. And I realized that at the time she was sending it, I had an idea or like, something, a little bit of a lift or just like a mood lift without even realizing that at that time she was sending me Reiki. So I think that that's been one way that we use it, but we also just are super intuitive. My family, especially some of us. But it's interesting because it's something that I wasn't necessarily ashamed of, but it was like, I just kind of thought that everybody just could read vibes and read energy and stuff like that. And it wasn't until the past few years where I started to feel like, oh wait, this is not something that everybody is able to do, and started to kind of tap into it a little bit more and be a little bit less, see the benefits of it and try to utilize it in a way where it's like I'm not hiding that side of myself. It's more like I'm trying to explore it more and go into it more and be more open about it. But so connecting with some of my family members, we've been having occasionally we'll have some like fire circles and stuff like that, just to kind of like ground and connect with the whoever in the spiritual realm. And we're all just like really full of love, like just a lot of love in this collective. So it's nice to be a part of it and then try to share that with my 2-year-old as she's getting older, not to have her shy away from it, but like see it as a superpower almost, that we have this little special side of us.
Well, that brings to mind a question for me. So you feel like you have been aware of this for a long time, and yet you are just now a Reiki 2.
Yes.
So you've been working with this energy all of your life.
Yeah.
And do you have any experiences like that, or did you just go into the Reiki, studying Reiki 1?
I always, from when I was very little, had a sense of wonder and awareness that the world is a complex place, and that the connections between people and the person-made world and animals and nature, that there's some sort of consciousness or communication happening. And I didn't have a way to really articulate that in a spoken way. My family was certainly spiritual, however, very rational. So it was only now have I found out that there are legacies of healers behind the sort of contemporary modern family. So Reiki and metaphysical ways of being were studied as interesting, but in a way that was apart, sort of, but intellectually, as opposed to being in it. Mm-hmm. So Reiki 1, so this is also a part of myself that I kind of pushed off. because I somehow valued the left brain and linear world over, you know, right brain and nonlinear creative thinking, which was my own thing and also society's thing, right? So I rejected it for a long time. I wanted to have, you know, sort of very dry, rational, intellectual pursuits. And I'm a pretty skeptical person. However, Reiki tends to prove itself every time. So it's a part of myself I didn't really accept, and then I went into Reiki 1, and what I think I was about 40 or 40 something when I went into it. I'd been exposed to other holistic ways of thinking, and it gave it a structure and a form, and it is it takes the best from Usui's original research and inspirations, and of the Asian world, of those healing energies. So there's like a technique to it. So Reiki 1 was really, and there was also, I mean, there's so much to it, I could just talk on and on. I felt like it gave a definition, a container for working with the universal life force, healing energy, with the self, relating to others, communicating with myself and with the world, and understanding healing in a deeper way, like healing on all the levels, right? The intellectual, mental, emotional, spiritual, and physical.
Well, you said something very interesting at the beginning, and I'm really hoping to get your input as well, because you've been doing this. You're brand new to this, to Reiki, and you've been doing this for a long time, and I'm getting the feeling that Reiki is something that's probably that's kind of what you're focused in on, is Reiki.
I'm interested in healing in general, and what I'm interested in Reiki is that it gives it there's a technique. However, what is it like? When, you know, artists, musicians know how to improvise, right? Once you become a master at something, then you can improvise. So I feel like, and I'm, you know, learning and deepening. So yes, Reiki is certainly something I keep on deepening my studies, with which I deepen my studies, and it encompasses, I mean, I feel like, I don't know, it's you know, I'm receptive to learning, to seeing like what else might be on the horizon. It's also the name of the thing, right? But I mean, I know I'm gonna just, healing is healing, and all cultures have had ways of knowing how to enter relationships with nature and the self to heal. So I mean, if I'm lucky enough to keep on learning, then Reiki as a modality, yes, I definitely am interested in deepening.
That's your primary modality.
That's a primary, and I'm completely open.
To other things.
Yeah, I mean, I've done I've studied aromatherapy, herbal medicine, energetic
things.
Yeah.
And different modalities. I did not approach Reiki as a healing modality. I definitely did not approach it as something that was woo-woo, but because I came at it, through another avenue, so that it was a different thing. So, but it's interesting that the three of us are involved in Reiki in different places and different driving lanes, so to speak, but we are all together. And I've yet to meet a Reiki practitioner of any stripe who has said, well, but I don't believe that. I believe this. So nobody, when it comes to Reiki, you come do this or that, and I practice 9 different kinds of Reiki, and one of the things that is so amazing to me is that up here everybody only does one. Somehow they've never gotten any of the others. And one of the things that has come to me, because I did not learn Reiki to heal. I just learned Reiki because those 24 women knew it and I didn't know it. And where did you get off, all 24 people? And I was over here in the corner by myself all weekend. But Reiki, I think, is in charge. For me, Reiki is in charge. And for me, all I do is bring in the Reiki. I don't even bring in the Reiki. I ask it to join. Please come in. Please come in. And that's it. So it doesn't matter for me how you came to Reiki or where you are on your Reiki path or where you're going. And it's interesting to me because when I first found Reiki, I was just so amazed. I was just blown away by what was happening. And I just can remember that I was just going to every Reiki class I could find. So I had all these different Reiki teachers. And I found that there was, for instance, the Reiki Gendais, they're not even into healing. They're into spirituality. They're into spiritual growth. They don't care whether you use Reiki to get over the headaches or whatever. They're on another place altogether. So I have come to believe, and I may be the only person, I don't know that many other people that I've even, tried to explain it to, but I just feel that we're just not in charge. Reiki's the boss. And you say, come to help me now. And then I just kind of stand back and it happens. So that it's whatever it is. And it's not, so when I read books about Reiki and they talk about, oh, well, you got to hold your hands here, or you have to do this, or you have to, that's not, Reiki's in charge. So if Reiki wants me to hold my hands here, it will motivate me to do that.
Absolutely.
Have you had that experience?
Yes, 100%.
Have you really?
I just show up. So
yes,
right. So I just show up as a clear conduit for the universal life force healing energy for the highest and best good, and for optimal healing that's my intention that I put out. And I personally, yes, we show up, but it has nothing to do with me. It has everything to do with all of us. But the personal, and the person's experience that they're having has nothing to do with me. Of course, there's an intention of, for the best and highest, but that's it. And then absolutely, that is I feel like that's the most, when it's happening, that's
what it is.
Yeah.
How because you are so new with this, how is your experience going?
I think that, so I have always, not always, I'd say the past 5 or 6 years or so, maybe a little bit longer, I've felt that we are just transmuting love from the universe, and I've always felt very grateful that I can feel the love from the universe, and I'm always trying to just like push it on other people, or just like love everyone. And I think that with Reiki, it's given me an opportunity to really harness it and just like use it in a new way that's just like, because usually I'm just like sending love out, and this is really allowing me to harness it a little bit more and just like use it in a new, more I guess direct, for lack of a better word, way, where it's like my intention is a little bit different. Instead of just like a general outpouring of love, it's like more intentional. And so I think that it makes a lot of sense to me, the Reiki, and just like, I do believe that we're just surrounded by this life force energy, and to be able to be a channel and just like transmute it and just put it out into the world is just like such a blessing. And I think that being a clear channel is probably the most important part, because I don't want all my debris to gunk up like your experience or whatever experience you're having. It's like clearing my channel to be the vessel is probably the most important part of it for me, to allow that energy to come through me in a way.
Wow, that's interesting. Yeah. So you did Reiki 1 and you did Reiki 2,
Mm-hmm.
which means that you did distance. You
Mm-hmm.
learned distance.
Yes.
Have you been able to practice any distance Reiki?
Yes, that's really what I've been doing is distance. My husband is currently about 1,000 miles away for work, but so I've been really just trying to use it as a way to connect with him and sending some healing energy his way. And I think that for me, it's like, even when I do that, I notice a softening in my daughter, or I notice just like, it's distance, but it's affecting the people that are around me as well, and myself. So I really do like the distance. I've also been using it a lot to heal past versions of myself. And just like...
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Can we delve into that
Yeah.
a little bit?
Yeah.
You're healing your past.
Yes. So
Wow.
I've been... there are times in my life where I remember specifically looking for guidance or just some answers or something. And so I'll kind of tap in with that version of myself, and I'll just like kind of send that version of myself some Reiki to help heal my current stuff that needs healing. But that's really, I've been using it a lot in that aspect as well, a lot of emotional healing there. And environmentally, I've been like, I love interiors and just different spaces, and that's really, feeling the energy of a space is really my wheelhouse. So I've been using it a lot in terms of just like a room or a cafe or like wherever I am, just kind of like using it in that way. So I have yet to really, sit there and do a Reiki session on someone besides my daughter, but I've been using it in those ways, and they feel really effective to me.
I think you have illustrated something, and I don't know how this works for you, because this is where the personality comes in. For you, a table is not necessary. You just there. You just get the hands and we go with it. How does that work with you?
Oh, that absolutely works also. Distance healing is really powerful. I didn't I mean, from what people report back, it works, right? So, and also from my experience of doing it, I mean, people do it in different ways, but I do it almost as if I were doing a session. So I do a whole session with someone, and depending on what comes up, right? Because I mean, we can talk about what the focus is going to be ahead of time, but it's not like an intellectual pursuit. It's a presence pursuit, I guess would be a way of putting it. So I have received some powerful distance sessions, and also sent energy and distance sessions, and worked with animals, people who were very ill, and almost, I mean, it's pretty, I mean, for lack of a better way of putting it, it's pretty far out, right? I mean, you know, like, it's to be feeling someone's organ when you're, you know, hundreds of miles away from them or whatever, or working with, you know, the just the energy of it, just being in it and being with them. It's a presence experience. It's kind of beyond words sort of thing.
Well, I think also that when we think of distance Reiki, a lot of my distance Reiki, and although when I teach it, one of the things I do when I teach distance Reiki is I will use, and as an example, that I will send Reiki to this. I have a cat whose name I use two cats. One was Sophia, and the other one was this white cat that I had for many years, and they were rescues, and both of them, their life paths had been very difficult. And so I would be going back into the past to help, just for them to have the experience of having received Reiki. And then now that we talk about it, I realize that I have been very one-dimensional, I think, in teaching distance Reiki, because most of the distance Reiki that I have practiced has been somebody coming to my door and saying, look, my mother-in-law in California, blah, 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 blah. And then that's what we went to. So we went to the mother-in-law in California that in present time. But now you talk about the past and the future, because if someone is critically ill, if you can introduce the concept to them of healing their past, that should have a very, dramatic is not the word. Profound, what is a good word? It's gonna have
Impactful.
more than just having an impression on them.
Mm-hmm.
When you go into a person who is very ill,
Mm-hmm.
and you start dealing with the past,
Mm-hmm.
then you're dealing with all kinds of layers and layers and layers of things that they're still carrying around.
Yes, to everything.
Everything,
I mean,
okay.
it's true, right? And working with the present is also working on the past, because we are a culmination of the past and of the future in a way. So whatever, it's all useful. I feel like whichever point, which needs to be picked up in time and space, is useful. So working with the mother-in-law in California now is kind and wonderful. And working with departed animals, like, and saying hello, is kind of wonderful for ourselves, for our healing, and for, I mean, who knows about, the animals. But it's I mean, the past, the present, and the future, it's kind of all the same thing in the end, right? I mean, which is, I mean, I spent last year working with a friend of mine who's passed, she died, and we did Reiki once a week. I'd known her for a year. She was an acquaintance. She became a client, and we became friends. And working on the present, worked on her past, and also worked on her future as she prepared to live her life while she was alive, and not be thinking, because she was approaching death pretty quickly. And there's this thing that happens when people are approaching death in the months that are there in which they're approaching it, that it's almost like this forgetting to be in the present moment and to live now, right? So I feel like whenever we step into Reiki and wherever is the right time, the past, the present, the future. As esoteric as that sounds.
Well, I think it all goes in together. That's true. The past and the present and the future are a soup. They are a soup, and the soup includes, the body and the energy and all of these things, and it also includes all the baggage that we carry around. And when you have, and we come into this life with baggage. I really do. I think one of the things that was really popular in the 90s was a modality about rebirth, in which people would have a session in which they recreated their birth. Mm-hmm. And so often birth is a disaster, and it's a trauma, And so, and that's part of it. You can't, it's really, if somebody starts talking to me about this perfect event that they had, I kind of question it all. But I do think that we have this baggage that we carry with us, and when you're offering Reiki to somebody, you're not excluding that baggage. And not only are we not excluding the baggage, we are not the one who says what parts of it we're working on. Mm-hmm. When you offer healing to someone, do you offer exclusions?
Well, I think that I like to consult with them to kind of determine what their highest, most optimal self feels like, right?
Wow. What does your most optimal self feel like?
Your highest, most optimal experience. And I think from there, I kind of talk about where that's not lining up. And then that kind of shows a spotlight on what areas might need healing. Like what is not in alignment with your highest self right now, what fears might be holding you back. And kind of, not that we're intentionally going into those fears, because that might not be, they might need those fears, or, you know, I'm not the judge of that, but just kind of seeing what is aligned with what their highest, most optimal self feels like and what might be off balance there, and then trying to work on those areas, and not only through Reiki, but through, you know, taking actions that might help them align with their highest self. But I do trust that there are parts of me and all of us that we might be blind to, and might not be able to see in ourselves, that need healing, and that's where the Reiki is just like the Reiki and the life force goes where it needs to go. So it's a little bit of both. I feel like.
That's very interesting. When I send Reiki to someone, I just ask the Reiki, please open yourself up to this person. And that's it. I don't think about the past or the present or the future. And do you think about the past or the present or future?
No.
That is an amazing thing.
I think it's, you know, it's because I think that for me it's like a hybridization of a few different, like it's Reiki combined with, you know, some other avenues that I delve into. So it's not specifically like the Reiki is doing its thing, but I'm also seeing other ways of, if someone doesn't feel aligned with their highest self, I'm also able to sometimes see how to help them get closer to that. And so it's like the Reiki is almost the icing on the cake in a way, where it's like, and it's kind of a little bit of both. It's like a personal development and a energetic modality.
That is a totally amazing approach to Reiki for me. I just have never done that, and I have never managed the Reiki in any way at all. And I think I interact with people daily that have lost contact and lost touch with something that might have been the higher self. And maybe they lost contact with that higher self 20 years ago or 50 years ago.
I think that when I'm able to kind of see the potential in people, places, and things, and I think that's why, that's kind of the way I approach it, is because even if they've lost touch with it, I see that light in people, and it's like, I think that that's kind of my thinking around it. It could be, you know, I'm just learning, so that could be.
No, there is. I am not critical. I am not critical at all with that. I just never have had this. You know, because when you offer Reiki to someone, the Reiki is its own self. Mm-hmm. And the Reiki does what it's going to do. And anybody who thinks they manage the Reiki, they're kidding themselves, and they're ready to buy the bridge. But at the same time, when you offer Reiki to someone, you are working on this person, but you're really not. This person has got to come when they get on that Reiki table or sit in that Reiki chair or stand there in the corner, or if they've been in a car wreck and they're on the side of the road and you pull your car over and start sending Reiki, or if you're in the grocery line, you know, and obviously somebody in that grocery line is pulling in the Reiki somehow, because I can feel it and I didn't turn it on, and it's there. So you have the person who is functioning as the practitioner, and then you have the recipient, and they come together. How does that work for you? How does that work for you?
What do you mean by that?
Well, you've got this Reiki energy that somebody has come to you for, or has agreed to, you know, they're on the table or in the chair or whatever, and then they've got all this baggage. Mm-hmm. And so, and you have your hands on the shoulders or on the head or on the whatever. It doesn't matter. So you're dealing with the past, the present, and the future. Mm-hmm. You know, I just have always just, hey, here's the person, let's do it. But there's all these layers. Mm-hmm.
It's letting it be what it is, ultimately. There's no, I think it's when people report back about their experiences being useful for them on whatever level, it's just showing up and being present with the Reiki energy. I mean, and obviously our intention is, you know, for the best and highest good. I think it's almost that simple. Because I think it is buying the bridge, like you said, to say that we can, you know, like control it, or we can be present with it. It's like trying to control life, right? I mean, there's being present with it, there's being with it, and then that's it. And that's very powerful. I mean, that's it, and that's it, right?
You know, one of the things that has been kind of hanging out in all the classes that I've ever taught and ever attended that were Reiki is the fact that the first healing modality that I ever studied was massage therapy. Mm-hmm. Let me tell you, there are over 600 muscles in the human body. Mm-hmm. And if you want that certificate, you better learn mm-hmm. where they are and what they do and what they connect to and when and how. Mm-hmm. That's it. That's the given. And how they connect. And then along came Reiki. And bones, body system. What is this? What? A femur? Huh? A vertebrae? What is this? And a chakra? What? And so that is why when I teach Reiki, I teach about chakras in the third session, not the first or second. Mm-hmm. And as I go along, I'm beginning to realize in my and I wrote a book about Reiki, and in the first few chapters I wrote about this body system and that body system and another body system, and I am rewriting that book, and I'm leaving those things out. I really am. Do you feel that knowing, I don't know, do you feel that knowing the energetic body system or knowing the muscular system or the digestive system, does that affect the Reiki that you offer?
I think there's nothing wrong with having more information, you know? So if we, however, I don't know, what do I know, right? So I think there is something really beautiful and amazing about knowing anatomy and physiology and how the body is connected to itself, and all the systems that work together. And sometimes it could be, I feel like there have been times that knowing about organ systems has been useful, to be able to have words to speak to the other person about what's going on. And, whatever works, right? Healing is healing. So there are, non-literate cultures where healing happens, and these are ways of thinking that haven't been proposed, right? And then we have like traditional Chinese medicine and Ayurvedic medicine where systems have been studied for thousands of years. So it's, I think whatever works, works. And it can work. Having the information in that way, I think the information is had. Like, people know these things, we've always known that we've had a heart, right? And that there's all cultures, the heart is associated with emotion and with wisdom, right? It's something to ponder, Thurman.
Years ago, decades ago, I studied canine massage therapy. And I studied under a guy by the name of Jonathan Ruttinger, who is still out there, by the way, and he's in Toledo. And I taught canine massage therapy for years and all this stuff. But I can remember the most, when I go back, I learned, this is canine massage therapy, okay? Got the dog here, or the cat, or the tuna, the goldfish, or whatever, it's right here. I remember these words from Jonathan Ruttinger. The only reason we ever learn the name of a muscle is so we can talk to the veterinarian, Thurman. That's the only reason you need that. And even then I was going like this, and I didn't even realize the wisdom of what was happening. And then later on, I ended up in Circleville, Ohio, and I need to contact that woman, Patricia Whalen Shaw. I was there for a week, and it was an intensive 8 in the morning until 8 at night thing for a whole week. Never once did anybody touch the animal they brought with them. All we did was memorize the names of the muscles. By the time the end of the week came, I couldn't control it. I just got in my car and drove away. There was just something within me that just for whatever reason. And now I look back on it and I realize it's because she was working with a modality that realized that I was not in charge. It's the energy that's in charge. And she was making us memorize all of these muscles. I drove away. I literally did. I did. I took the test and got in the car. I didn't even say goodbye. Nothing. I just drove away because it just grated against what it is. And you know, if you think that when you are healing, you don't heal. We don't heal. We don't heal. We offer energy to people. If that person or that animal that you are working with is clinging to something, it's because they need it. So if it doesn't work, it's not failure. It's not failure at all. It is the success of the system. It is the success of the system that it's there. What do you have you ever? What do you think?
Yeah, I would agree with that. That I see Reiki as light, as just like a light force, light energy, and I think that it just heals what it needs to heal, and I think that I think chakras can be helpful because I think that if someone is coming from a fear-based place, it's easy to see that their root chakra might be a little imbalanced, but that might not be a Reiki thing. That might just be like a separate, just insight. But yeah.
So what do you think?
About?
She just said, I think, something very dynamic. You see the energy as light.
Mm-hmm.
So when somebody's on the table or in a chair or whatever, do you see the light?
I imagine it as light. I don't necessarily physically see it, but that's my interpretation of it, is that I'm setting light to the darkness. And that is just like, that light is healing whatever debris or whatever darkness that needs to be healed in there. And it's the light that's just kind of dispersing that darkness and that gunk and that buildup. And that's how I see it when I do it. Or just, think about it even. That's how I see Reiki. It's just like a light.
I definitely think that there is light and that the person has darkness. I definitely think that. I'm not sure that when they come to my table, that the light goes anywhere that I want it to go.
Right.
What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, so there's this, I come back to the idea of technique and improvisation and, what is it? I've heard, like technique is what we fall upon when inspiration leaves us, right? So in a way, it's good to have both, right?
There she is. Oh, thank you so much, Ellen. We're down to 1 minute. We're down to 1 minute. Thank you so much, Ellen. Thank you so much. And my brain is really working. I really, really appreciate this session. And I am so grateful to you two ladies for coming.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank
and
you.
for speaking the truth and we came from very, very different places, and I think we all focused in at the same thing. Isn't that, I mean, you know, that's a wonderful gift. Thank you very, very much, Ellen.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.